interesting what's happened today, I think, because I think it's generally been quite a good day for Theresa May. Her speech got a lot of coverage. I mean, there's basically no other news about, so that's probably why. She's getting all the headlines for doing that little dance, which I think most people think, well, good on her for having a go.
Yeah, do we agree with that?
But good on her for having a go.
You can imagine Nelson Mandela doing that kind of little dance, can't you? So I think that was okay.
Are you saying Theresa May is the new Nelson Mandela?
I didn't say that. You said that, Layla.
So quite a good day, but... Well, I think there was a but coming, or am I...
Well, there is a but coming, because we all know that when she gets back, when Parliament gets back next week, it is going to be Brexit, 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 Brexit. And it's going to be like that until there is or isn't a deal. And even when there is a deal, it will still be Brexit, because then comes the trade deal, hopefully. Now, she has got an almost irreconcilable party to deal with, but she's not alone in that, because she looks across to Jeremy Corbyn, and so has he. I'm not sure the Liberal Democrats are completely irreconcilable at the moment, but who knows?
We're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
So, good day or not? Layla, you...
I think she's done really well today, actually. So, on the one hand, you've got people like me who are, totally pro-international aid, and we want 0.7% GNI enshrined, and she, I think, has made a good defence of that today, and particularly in the case of women and girls and education and that kind of thing. On the other hand, the right wing are interpreting this as, British money for British companies. So, I think she's probably done quite well there today.
OK, so we're sort of giving her points for trying and dancing, and none of us want to be in that position. She can't get a deal, though, can she? I mean, and one that she'll sell to her party. Checkers, just what is going to happen, Katy? Where do we go?
This is the thing. You see Theresa May there quite valiantly trying to say that, look, despite the fact that everyone has ruled out my deal, including Brussels, Macron recently, and half of my party, perhaps even more than half, we're going to keep pressing on and everything's going to be OK. But the numbers just aren't there. But I also think it's hard to see that there are numbers for any type of Brexit deal right now, which is probably why she plans to just keep plugging along and hoping for the best. I think the problem is that over the summer, Number 10 hoped this would calm things down, and actually the party just got more divided, more angry, and actually the sides are feuding as much as they were before.
Stephen, do you think she can get through this autumn, a party conference as well, and somehow just with her sort of patient and weary kind of repetition of the same formula, sell it to the party and beyond?
Well, I'm not sure she can sell it to the party, but I do think the fact that it's such an impossible and horrible job for whoever the Conservative leader is means that, if you're someone who'd like to be Prime Minister, do you really think, actually, I fancy trying to persuade 7 irreconcilable pro-Leave MPs or 7 irreconcilable pro-Remain MPs? I think Katie's exactly right to say it is impossible to work out what Brexit outcome the Conservative Party can agree on, which means that I can't see why anyone will decide in getting rid of her fixes their problem.
OK, so that was going to take us to the leadership. And the first threats to Theresa May, a leadership challenge over the autumn. Are you expecting one, Ian? Or are you expecting her to stand up, as some had suggested, at the party conference and announce a timed departure a year ahead or so?
Well, this party conference can't go any worse for her than last year's did, so she starts from a good position there. I think that she's probably got a poster on her bedroom wall which just has the letters KBO with a picture of Churchill, keep buggering on, because that's what she does, and she does it very successfully. I think every time I come on Newsnight, we say this, but she's incredibly resilient. She bounces back when most of us think, well, how can she possibly do that? Now, I don't think there will be a leadership challenge this autumn, because I think anybody that launched one would have to be clinically insane. But then there is Boris Johnson that we have to consider here. And if he launched something, say, at the party conference or before the European summit, he would get his just desserts. I don't think he's got the support on the Tory benches to launch anything meaningful at the moment. Now, that might change after a little while, but I don't anticipate that this side of the party.
Stephen, do you think Boris has had a bad summer or a good summer, weak, strong?
I think he's actually had a bad summer. His problem, he's strengthened his appeal among Conservative activists, but that has never been his problem. His problem has always been his colleagues on the Conservative benches are worried about his judgment, worried that he couldn't be Prime Minister. And in a summer that was otherwise awful for the Labour Party, we had a week of Conservative crisis caused solely by him on a quiet news day going, I'm going to compare people to letterboxes.
Yeah.
OK, so not expecting a challenge. Let's move on to the Labour Party.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you might have expected this time that they would be threatening, but I think Theresa May comes out well ahead on the Prime Minister front.
Which is extraordinary in of itself. I mean, at this point, you would expect...
And Labour obviously very caught in its own conversation about anti-Semitism. Where does Labour go? How does it get out of it? I know you're a Lib Dem MP,
Well,
Labour,
no,
but
I know.
give them your advice on what they...
I wouldn't dare give the Labour Party advice. What I can see is what, I'm speaking to Labour colleagues across the House who are very, very frustrated with the direction that the party is going. I think, particularly on Brexit, and I think this is going to be a make or break conference about Brexit. Whether or not momentum and their movement can then force Jeremy Corbyn to back a more populist agenda and back a people's vote, we shall see. Without it, we won't be able to achieve what we need, which is a further
These
referendum.
are our two Brexiteers. Katy, you see, the deal waiting to be done is for Corbyn to say, look, Remainers, vote for me and I'll give you a second referendum, or Labour's going to become a party of second referendum. Is that your fear, that what has to happen over the...
I think ever since Chequers, the chance of no deal and the chance of no Brexit have increased significantly. And you look at the People's Vote campaign, I think it used to be a source of probably some amusement to quite a lot of Brexiteers, perhaps sore losers. I don't think anyone's laughing as much now. They definitely seem to have momentum behind them. They might have another momentum behind them soon, depending how Labour conference goes. And you can see that they have a clear plan, and I think that's what's lacking on the Leave side.
And the clear plan is what?
Well, first, we have to try and get this motion through at Labour conference to at least open up the leadership to a second referendum, then bring more Labour MPs on side, win a few Tory MPs, and then when the final deal comes back, try and force through a motion at the Speaker's discretion. Yeah. And, I mean, it's many reasons it might not work, but given that things are so unpredictable right now, you just can't rule it out anymore.
Stephen.
I think that in some ways Labour conference is a bit of a red herring. The central problem is there are too many Labour MPs who, regardless of the party whip, not least because no one in the Labour Party feels they're going to take lectures from Jeremy Corbyn on rebelling on an issue of principle, there are too many Labour MPs who, come what may, will vote against a second vote because they're worried that their Leave voting constituents will do to them what happened in Scotland.
Hasn't that changed over the summer? Haven't Labour leavers began to switch to Remain? I mean, not leavers all over the place, but the Labour leavers. Is there not some evidence?
Well, yeah. So some Labour leavers have, right. So if you are, say, Caroline Flint in Don Valley, you actually still have a lot of Leave voting Labour supporters who have not moved towards Remain, who are quite angry, who are worried about Chequers. And while those MPs still exist, you would need 25 Conservative rebels, even if Labour were to change its position, which is quite a big if.
Don't underestimate that, because I think, actually, there's more than that who are maybe thinking about
Tory rebels who
Tory
would join
rebels
a second
who I think would join with the right... If no deal becomes more and more possible, I think it's more than 25. I would also say, if you look at the poll yesterday, North East, 16 points now in favour of Remain. It's now 50-50 split in the North East of this country. There is movement in this direction, and I think it's because people are scared about no deal.
Well, there actually isn't movement in that direction. If anything, it's in the opposite direction. There was a poll in the Mail on Sunday a couple of weeks ago which...
Yeah, but this was yesterday's poll.
Well, I mean, in one area, maybe. If I was Brandon Lewis, the Conservative Party chairman, I would think all my Christmases had come at once if Jeremy Corbyn went to have it's not a people's vote. We've had one of those. It's a second referendum.
It's another people's vote.
Well, you didn't like the first one. So what would happen then is the Tories would start selecting candidates in all of these northern marginal seats, whether they're Tory Labour or Labour-Tory marginals, and they would drive that message home for however long it is between now and the next election. And I would say that would be worth 3, 4, 5 percentage points in the poll to the Tories if that happened.
Good. Look, let's just talk about potential centre force, something else coming out. Before we do, we need to talk about the Lib Dems. So Layla, obviously the idea has been spilt out in the last few days that maybe the Lib Dems will change their constitution, have a leader from outside Parliament.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
I think it's a really interesting idea. And one of the things I think that is a story from Brexit is that people are generally annoyed with politics, annoyed with politicians. What we're trying to do here is reach out to a wider audience and create a bit of a movement around Brexit, but also other things, And
has Vince Cable told you what his plans are?
To a degree.
Do you know what his intention is?
I know some of them. The point that we need to make, though, well, some of them are about opening up the membership more widely, so allowing people to become more supporters. The The idea is to be a movement and not just be a, you need to pay a subscription and only then do you get to, stand or vote for leader or whatever. But the point is we don't just decree these things in the Lib Dems. It doesn't work that way.
No.
It's all democratically done through conference. So that's what needs to happen first.
Stephen, you've been looking at the sort of centre party moves and all of that shenanigans. Is that going to happen in the next six months?
I don't think it will happen in the next 6 months because a lot of the key people on the Labour side believe that while they are within the Labour Party, they might be able to soften or stop Brexit, and they are reluctant to close the door on that. But when Brexit is resolved, one way or the other, I think that will be when we start to see an organised breakaway of people who are disaffected within the Labour Party.
But there are people...
How many, Stephen? I want Stephen's
How many? I think it will be no more than 10, maybe even as few as 2.
Right. But I want to finish, sorry, we've only got another, only 30 seconds. And Katy, help me out on this. Next 6 months, is it possible we will muddle through and it'll all be fairly normal politics? Or does it have to be that something absolutely mega is about to confront us?
I think Theresa May most likely clings on, but there'll be moments when it seems like she shouldn't cling on, or perhaps we should go to the country. But we have the Fixed Term Parliament Act, and I think the majority of Tories don't actually want her to go to after Brexit is done so much. So I think it's going to be turbulent, but I still think that the things that we see in terms of leaders is going to stay broadly the same.
Okay, in a word each, turbulent or muddled through? Stephen?
Turbulence.
Turbulence.
Both.
Right.